Good morning, everyone. I've got a special guest with me today. I've got Jenni Rickard, who is the President of the Australian Parents Council of Australia. Now, if you think about the work that we do with Year 13, we don't often really think about kind of the parent aspect and the role parents have with the school to work transition. And so it's my absolute pleasure to have Jenni with us here this morning. How are you, Jenni?
I'm good, thanks, and thanks, Saxon. Thanks for having me.
No worries. I guess a question that burning question that I have is, who are the Australian Parents Council, and what do you guys do?
So the Australian Parents Council are parents that are involved in education. So we've always usually been involved in primary school education and high school education, and just in the recent past we've realised that parents have a need at exploring post-school options with their kids. They're seeking advice and guidance and information on how best to guide their children into post-school options. So this is new for us as well, entering the post-school space, but we're thrilled to have the conversation with you about how we can help our kids.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting thing. In some of our research, we found that I think it's 48% of students are still going to their parents towards getting their best career advice. And anecdotally, we spoke to parents and asked where do they go, and they said they go to their children. So it's kind of like this bit of a broken conversation.
It is. It's interesting to think that parents are the biggest influence and they're out there floundering going, where is this information? The thing that we're finding with parents is the number one thing that they're looking for is credible information. They're always looking for the information that is going to work. And that's what's great about Year 13 is that it's research, it's evidence-based, and it's the facts and figures that parents can relate to.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the unique things that we like to do is really understand some of the problems that face young people, to almost give them a voice. We live in a digital age where we've got all different forms of social media, and so we've wanted to be able to understand the problems that young people face, be able to look at some of the problems that we as kind of industry leaders, as parents, as government, that we face in terms of economic decisions, and be able to actually effectively use data to inform decision making. And so I think it's one of that transition that we're going through, that now data is so prevalent and so available. It's about making use of it and being able to effectively use data to inform decisions.
Yeah, which is fantastic, because that's what education is now for kids. All teachers are using evidence-based research for their teaching practices. So kids are so used to knowing what is evidence-based. So they'll look to you knowing that it's been researched, it's fact, and that they can rely on the information that they're getting from you.
Absolutely. I think, so as you know, we've got our expo coming up. So we host a digital careers expo. Last year we saw over 90,000 students and about 500 schools participate. And in May this year, with our National Careers Week by the Careers Industry Council of Australia, we're actually going bigger and better, which is why we've got you here speaking with us today. Where do you see the value that Year 13 provides parents, and how do we continue that moving into the future?
I think the information that it provides to their kids means that kids can have that conversation with their parent. It's preparing them with all of the information that they need to say, hey, mum or dad, come and sit down with me and look at this. I want to have this conversation. It's really important as parents that we're listening to our kids. The work experience and the careers expos that I attended when I was young was non-existent. So they have so much more information available to them that parents should be stopping and saying, okay, what can you teach me? Which I think is what they're trying to do, but it's about kids being able to then find that information. So it's going to be at their fingertips with the expo. So parents, sit down with your kids, watch a couple of webinars, get involved.
Yeah, and I think it's one of the really encouraging things about what we've discovered with our expo. Like, we've got the likes of Facebook, Google, Canva, Atlassian, Microsoft, Telstra, some legacy Australian brands and businesses that are talking about the future of work, and some of these industries that we've uncovered around cybersecurity, which isn't about being a coder, but more so actually being able to understand that technology is everywhere in our lives. We can't go within 2 meters without being in some form of connectivity, and it's only going further into the future. And Telstra have been able to really articulate where these jobs are, what young people can be looking at, and not just exclusive to qualifications, but also in terms of vocational education, about work experience, about starting their own business. So I think we are seeing that shift in mentality and that change, and these world-renowned brands. And I think I've mentioned it to you before that Australia's got more billion-dollar companies now which aren't related to mining and ore than ever before in the economy. And with Canva and Atlassian and Afterpay, all these incredible businesses, it's quite exciting for parents, I think.
It is exciting, and the interesting thing I find with our conversation, Saxon, is that my kids always say, I'm like one of the millions of parents in Australia, my kid wants to be a YouTuber when he grows up. And as a parent, I've always said, that's not a career, you can't do that. But what I've learnt with talking to you is that those skills that they're talking about in being a YouTuber are so transferable to all of these companies and businesses that you're talking about. So when our kid says, I want to be a YouTuber when I grow up, as a parent, you should be thinking not about he's actually going to be a YouTuber, but this is where it can grow to. And I think that's really important. You don't want to, stomp in their dreams and say, you'll never be a YouTuber. It's about talking about the skills that they learn from those interests and where they can take them in the big bad world.
Completely. And this is something that, in some of the consultations that we've had with students, that we've been met with exactly that parents have been, unsure of what their child or their students wanting to do, and they've asked us to kind of speak with them, and we've been able to just uncover, it's not the fact that he wants to be a YouTuber, but it's the fact that he likes the digital economy. And it's like, if he's liking that, he might be quite a good communicator. If it's a good communicator, he might be really into documentaries. And then it's actually following the trail of the interests, which is a big part of our agenda, is about uncovering that and allowing parents to understand the reason, and students, the reason why they like doing something, what that means, and then using that towards further industries. And the world of work is changing, and it's changing drastically. And I think, COVID's highlighted the influence in which technology is going to have over traditional industries. And now more than ever is a time for parents who are concerned or looking at their children's futures to really come. That's what our expo is about. It's about understanding these new industries, being able to engage at this one-on-one level so that you and your child or children can actually plan together and be a part of that conversation.
Yeah, if you're like me and you've got teenage children, they've come up through school with always being told that your career hasn't been invented yet. So they're kind of sitting there waiting for their career to be invented. But I think the conversation that we need to turn it to, and especially have these conversations as parents, is these are the skills that are going to give you that career that hasn't been, that's not up in front of you yet, but it's coming. And if you've got all of those skills, that's the important thing.
Absolutely. And I think it's also about using data to inform decisions. Data isn't just about, matrix of code. It's been able to see that, 68% of millennials, so people in the past 10 years who finished school, said that they would change their post-school plan if they had their time again. And it's quite a terrifying statistic. 68% would change where they're at right now. And so this is, I think, the power of what data actually provides, to actually be able to understand what intrinsically motivates someone, where an industry is going. It's not saying you can't be something, but understand that industry may be changing, and the reason why you want to be A also equals B. So, it's about being really optimistic in the situation and being able to, basically formulate a plan through data to be able to help inform.
Yeah, and the interesting part of that is that we have this expectation that it's a linear journey, that you start from school and then you're off to exactly where you need to go, and that's not necessarily the case. And I think if as parents we look back at our experience ourselves, it hasn't been a straight journey to where we've got. We've stopped here or made a turn there. We should be encouraging our kids to embrace those ideas and to make a change or do something that doesn't work, or look at what really does motivate them and do something that they love. Yeah,
completely. And I think it's one of the interesting kind of stigmas that are attached to different industries, that, it's where you start is not where you're going to finish. In some of the people that I've spoken with who were working as, in construction, that have gone off and run, billion-dollar tech companies, they say that they use the same process as being a carpenter into what they do in technology nowadays. Working in hospitality actually teaches you communication skills, working with different demographics, the shift work of being able to be there on time and have a role and responsibility. which you don't really think about when you have kind of a lot of those entry-level jobs, but they're incredibly fundamental towards the development of a career. And it's not about the title or the valor behind it, it's more so that the experience that you're gaining.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, I think it's something that more parents can understand, and I think to be able to articulate it, because quite often we don't know how to articulate that working behind a counter, customer service is an incredibly important part of all aspects of business. And to have that personal level of engagement on working behind a counter, you'll take that for the rest of your career as you progress.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of careers counselling that parents do is inspirational. It's you've got your hopes and dreams for your child that are up there, up high, that you want them to achieve all of the things. And I think it's about breaking that apart and really looking at your child and seeing what their strengths and weaknesses are and how you can assist them moving forward in becoming the best person that they can, because that's all we want as parents, isn't it?
It is, exactly. And I think to kind of tie it back together, that young people are wanting to go to their parents as their inspiration, their motivation, and have that support throughout a tricky time of transition, but to have parents be empowered to be able to know how to answer those questions, how to understand data, how to understand where industries are going and where opportunity lays, because now more than ever, where there is more opportunity than previous generations in terms of these developing industries. Education has never been so readily available for Gen Zs and this demographic, and neither is data. And data, again, isn't meant to be some scary number that we don't know what it is, but to be able to actually forecast a future is a really cool and compelling kind of area that we're in. Yeah,
as someone that was kind of coming out of school at the end of the recession that we had to have, there was no security in our work. So that was always, high for our parents, is that you could potentially be unemployed, whereas what you're saying is that you've got the data there to know where the trends in employment are going, so we can guide our kids to make sure that they always have a pathway and there's potential there, and I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And so for I think this is why it's exciting that Year 13 and the Australian Parents Council are working together, because this is what our expo and this is what our work really encapsulates, is that it's the line to success, or the path to success, is not linear. It works in ebbs and flows, and even now in my career, I'm still going through the ebbs and flows, much like everyone else is. And so I think the more that groups like the Parents Council and Year 13 can come together for these type of initiatives are quite cool and exciting.
Yeah, we're thrilled to be working with you, because the way we see our relationship is that you're the mentee, you're teaching us your ways of these young people so that we can better connect with our children, and I think that can only mean great things for the future. So we're always listening to what you're saying and paying attention, and I think that is a great message for parents, to pay attention to what young people are doing and saying, so you can learn something to help your own kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to kind of wrap it up, I think it's one of the things that a lot of parents are unaware of, the industries of the future, which aren't just about for their students, it's also for themselves. Like people are still going to be working for another 20, 30 years, and if you can actually have those insights yourself, if you might need to pivot, where opportunity may lay and what skills are attached to that. So I don't see career education as an exclusive thing for students finishing school. It's something that we are all consistently going through. I think it's, I'm going through it now, but I'm entering my 30s, and I see a lot of my friends going through this. I see my own parents going through it as well. So, this isn't something which is just for young people. It's something which actually allows parents to be able to build their own knowledge for themselves. So,
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a really encouraging partnership, and I'm really stoked to have you guys on board with us.
Hey, thank you for having us.
Perfect.
So Saxon, tell us, why should parents sign up with their kids for the Year 13 Expo?
So the Expo it's been built out of, again, data from a lot of students in terms of what their desires are, what they want to be able to understand, what they're lacking. So, this is about industry, education. We touch on mental health and wellness as a really big part. So, the Expo is there for parents to be able to sit down with their children, to be able to look at what their values are, what their interests are, and it's not in a philosophical sense. Using your YouTube son, he may be really interested in technology or creative industries or UX design. Be able to uncover that with the Expo and then listen to some of Australia's and the world's leading experts as to what that means. Expo is built off influencers and experts, and influencers being young people who have done really cool creative things with their career, and experts being people like Telstra, Microsoft, Dr. Carl, these incredibly talented individuals. So that's what I would encourage parents to do. Be able to register, come in with an open mind, sit down with your children. We have schools registering, we have students registering, parents can register. So and I think it's one of the exciting parts about being able to partner with the Australian Parents Council is that this is, I think, the start of that kind of evolution of being able to really help parents with that informed decision making, to be able to use more data in decisions and to be able to really grow into the future. So Jenni, I'm really pleased to have you here and a part of our expo, and I really appreciate all your time.
Thank you. Thanks, Saxon.